I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get...
Lori, do you love Chad?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I love you, babe.
How's that? Welcome back, everybody. That went quick. So while we're waiting, because it should be here within 6 minutes, let's listen to this phone call here when Chad called the funeral home about Charles.
Funeral home?
Hello, my name is I'm with their calls. How can I help you today?
We just had a death in the family, and we really don't want anything but a cremation, and then to send the cremains to a family in Louisiana. It's just a simple, nothing other than a cremation and sending him to his family for a service in Louisiana. So, is there any way to know a ballpark price on that?
Yes, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Okay, let me transfer you over to the director who can assist you with the pricing. What is your name, please?
It is Chad Daybell.
How do you spell the last name, please?
D-A-B-A-L, Daybell.
How are you related to the person who passed?
I'm his nephew.
And then also, this is for the Valley of the Suns in Chandler, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, he lives there in Chandler. I live in Iowa, so I'm just trying to help out.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes, what is your uncle's name for reference, please?
He is John Daybell.
Your last name?
Well, D-A-B-A-L.
Okay.
The same. John.
Do you have a middle name?
Myron.
M-Y-R-O-N?
Yeah.
And Chad, what is your phone number in case we get disconnected?
Yes. This number, 515. I don't actually know my own number. Let me look real quick.
Thank you. Thank you. Is he at a nursing home, hospital, or residence?
He passed away in a hospital. I don't know the details. I'm just calling you.
Yeah, it's just for, to know, because sometimes it's different if it's a residential or hospital or a nursing home.
I'm thinking they're sending him to the medical examiner. I'm not sure. I should have had more information before I called. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Alright. Cremation with shipping. To which city?
New Orleans. Yeah.
Okay, one moment please, Chad, but stay on the line. Let me transfer you over to the director who can assist you with that.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Chad?
Yeah.
Thank you for holding. I do have the director, Clarissa, to further assist you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Funeral Director with Valley of the Sun Mortuary Cemetery. I understand that your uncle passed away.
Yes, and I'm just starting the process for the family. He didn't have many relatives. I'm his nephew. I live in Iowa. But what they want to do is sad to see him go. Yeah, I think he's going to the medical examiner. I don't know all the details, but what the family basically wants is just to have him cremated there in Chandler and then have his cremains shipped to New Orleans. And we'll bill up the service later. So just trying to get a ballpark price.
Okay. So for a cremation, we are able to do our cremation for $1,695. Now, what that's going to include is the transportation into our care, the transportation to and from our crematory, our basic professional fees, as well as our crematory fee. Now, there's going to be a couple other charges there for you.
Okay.
So we are going to have death certificates, which are $20 a piece, with a processing fee,
Okay.
$15 permit fee,
All right.
and then we're able to do that transfer through the mail for you, and that's $150 fee for you.
Okay. Like the UPS or something, I guess.
Okay,
So close about 2,000 probably. Kind of a ballpark.
yeah,
Yeah.
close to that.
Okay. Well, that helps me a lot. I'm going to call one or two others, but I'll get back to you if we come back.
How sick is that, people? That was a phone call he made about Charles being cremated. That's sick. Oh, hold on. Hi, Amanda. How are you? Was it about 7, 8 o'clock p.m. there? Sorry, I was dealing with Nala. It is 2:17 here. I'm having problems with YouTube. I'm not getting any notifications of anybody I'm subbed to that is live. Nothing. So weird. Yeah, that's a big difference. Oh. Can they ever start on time? Nope. No, they can't. Let's see. Only a fall school day. Hey,
Thank you. Please be seated.
I'll talk to you later about what I want to ask you.
Mr. Pryor, you ready to continue with your cross-examination?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, we'll go ahead and have the jurors brought in.
Mr. Judge, would you prefer I wait?
It's up to you. You can go take the podium if you'd like, or you can wait at Chelsea's table.
All rise, please. The jury is present and counsel.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, we are back on the record on case CR 2221-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. The defense is conducting cross-examination of the witness, Detective Hermosillo. Mr. Pryor, if you'd like to continue, you may.
Officer Hermosillo, I'm going to take my time. I am probably eating too much coffee this morning, so I avoided that over the lunch hour. Now I think I'm okay. Let's hope so. I think the judges admonished me enough at this point that I think I got the point. So we're going to go a little slower if you don't mind. Okay. So I want to go back to the paintball incident. And you said that one of the pieces of evidence was that Alex Cox had Googled a black Dodge Dakota, correct?
He Googled what caliber it would take to shoot through the windshield of Dodge Dakota.
Was it the windshield?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Judge, there's previously been an admission of Exhibit 34 by stipulation. That's Homer J. Maximus with a reference from the state as well. And we'll get back to that in a minute. But there was at least a reference at some point that there was going to be trying to find out what kind of caliber it would take to penetrate a Dodge Dakota vehicle, somewhat windshield or otherwise, correct?
Correct.
And you took that as a threat, as a means of saying that's why Alex Cox was trying to kill Tammy Daybell.
That Google search, along with him being at that residence that same day earlier,
Okay.
and the incident involving Tammy Daybell.
Okay. 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 And that's what drew you to that conclusion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So we don't know who was driving the Dodge Dakota regularly, do we? Because you didn't speak with the kids. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And we do know that on the day that you said Chad Daybell, at least you were alleging that Chad Daybell fled on sometime in June 9th. Is that correct?
Objection misstates the testimony.
Well, try to clarify that. High rate of speed, Chad Daybell left the area. Is that fair?
That's fair.
That's what you're stating, correct?
That's correct.
And in the vehicle that he was in, do you know that that was the Dodge Dakota that supposedly he was fleeing in?
It was not Dodge Dakota he was fleeing.
Okay, what vehicle was he fleeing in?
I can't recall off the top of my head. We have it in impound, but it wasn't the Dodge Dakota.
Okay. Okay. So there were two vehicles, an Equinox and a Dodge Dakota. Which one was it?
Which day, sir?
On June 9th, there are two vehicles that the Daybells owned, an Equinox and the Dodge Dakota. So which one was it that he was allegedly fleeing?
I just stated I couldn't recall the vehicle that
Okay.
was arrested.
Okay, okay, that's fair, that's fair. So, just to recap, we know that there was a Google search by Alex Cox on his Homer J. Maximus account, correct?
Correct.
And that there was an allegation that someone was, or that Alex Cox was trying to figure out what type of caliber to at least shoot at a black Dodge Dakota, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We don't know who the target was, or who the target was in that Dodge Dakota, but we know it was someone who owned the vehicle, obviously, right?
Well, I would assume so.
Okay, okay. Now, that's what you based on the fact that you thought that there was an attempt on Tammy Daybell that day, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you read that email from the Homer J, or the research from the Homer J. Maximus account, did you take into consideration the date of when that search took place?
I did.
And when was that?
I can't recall. I have to refer to my notes.
Okay. I'm gonna take the liberty of helping you out a little bit. At least I think I'm gonna help you. There. Judge, I don't know why it's not going up on the screen.
Is this a exhibit?
34.
34, sorry, which 34 has sub exhibits.
I believe it's A, Judge.
34A is admitted previously by stipulation. 34A is what you're trying to publish, Mr. Clark.
Yes, Judge.
I don't know if there's someone can assist to see what the. Okay, it is admitted.
There we go. I'm sorry. I don't know what. All the best laid plans to prepare for this. So I'd like you to take a look up at the screen, if you would. Look at the date of when this search took place.
Okay.
And what is that date?
October 12th,
Of,
2019.
okay, now what was the date that allegedly Tammy Daybell was shot at with a paintball gun?
October 9th, 2019.
So if I understand, the incident with the paintball gun took place 3 days before this search took place.
Correct.
Okay, but you still continue to believe that was the basis for someone going after Tammy Daybell, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. But you don't have any Google searches that suggest anything else in a threatening manner. This is the one and only that you're relying on, is that right?
No, that's not right.
All right, what else are you relying on?
If you scroll up on October 9th, I believe that evening,
Okay. Go ahead.
Alex Cox Googles how to make an AR-15 function in cold weather.
Okay.
There's some other Googles if you'd like to pull it up.
Well, I've got those and we're gonna go through those. And we'll have an opportunity to do that, but,
And that was the night Tammy was shot at.
okay. And he Googled that night, right?
That's correct.
What time of night was that, do you recall?
I'd have to look at my notes.
Okay. Okay, but he also had a habit of Googling a lot of things, right?
I can't answer that.
Well, you know about the Hannibal Lecter thing, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, before we get to the Hannibal Lecter thing, let's talk a little bit about some of the other searches from Homer J. Maximus. October 21. Best tactical cutting moves, right?
Correct.
See that one?
All right, and Mr. Pryor, you are gonna have to stay by that microphone or we don't pick up what it's said.
Good judge. October 22nd, 2019. Sharpening swords. Knife sharpener, right?
Correct.
Okay, what was the date of Tammy Daybell's death?
October 19th, 2019.
Okay, so 3 days after Tammy Daybell dies, Alex Cox is still looking at sharpening swords and a block knife sharpener 3 days after Tammy Daybell's death. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. October 23rd. 4 days after Tammy Daybell's died. 15 facts about the silence of the lambs you didn't know. Call that one?
No, sir.
Okay. And that was 4 days after Tammy dies, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you searched, and I believe it was 107, was that the unit that we found all of the knives and the guns?
No, sir, that was 175.
Okay, 175, that was Lori Vallow's unit then, right?
That was the unit that Lori Vallow lived in, but Alex Cox was on the tenant agreement.
Okay, okay. And your testimony previously, I believe that was a day or so ago, there were a significant number of weapons found, right?
That's correct.
Did you do a check on all of those weapons to see who they belonged to?
I personally did not do a check on all those weapons.
What about the knives or the ammunition? Did you check and see who those belonged to?
I'm not quite sure how to check on who the knives
don't either.
belong to.
I don't either. I just asked because are you presuming that the owner of those knives and guns and ammunition is Alex Cox?
They were found amongst his belongings, so I presume that is.
And we talked about this before, when I was doing some 1 year and native objection, that a lot of those items were items, the knives and the ammunition were items that you pulled out of bags and displayed for purposes of, for lack of a better word, staging them for your photo op, right?
That's correct.
Okay, okay. But again, all of the ammunition, all of the weapons, all of the knives, and the ski mask, that was found in Alex Cox's, at or near Alex Cox's belongings, right?
Correct.
So I don't want you to speculate, but you're presuming that Alex Cox owned all of those, right?
That's correct.
There's no indication that Lori Vallow had several guns and knives and things like that. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. I want to switch gears a little bit. And I want to talk to you a little bit about Charles Vallow. Okay? And I assume you've been communicating with the folks down in Arizona about all of that. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so you're well versed in the facts as it relates to Charles Vallow, correct?
No, I wouldn't say well versed. I know the basics.
Okay, but are part of the basics to know where the court proceedings are and who was charged with what?
You would have to be more specific.
Okay, and do you know currently who's charged in the death of Charles Vallow?
Yes.
Okay, who is that?
Lori Vallow.
Okay, are you aware that the prosecuting attorney down in Maricopa County issued a
Objection hearsay.
That's the same.
Judge, I'm asking whether he's aware, not whether he.
Well, by the time you say what he's aware of, then all the information's coming through his, so it's a statement.
Okay. Are you aware that Chad Daybell is not charged with anything in Maricopa County relating to Charles Vallow?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Brandon Boudreaux's next. Who's been charged in the allegations against Brandon Boudreaux?
Lori Vallow.
Is there anybody else?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and you're also aware that Chad Daybell has not been charged in the allegations as they relate to Brandon Boudreaux. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, if Alex Cox was still alive, there's the suggestion seems to be that he would have been charged with both of those offenses. Would that be fair?
Objection calls for speculation.
It's the same.
Okay. Do you have any information as to who killed Charles Vallow?
Yes.
Who do you believe killed Charles Vallow?
Alex Cox.
Okay. Who do you believe took the shot at Brandon Boudreaux?
Alex Cox.
Okay, thank you. Now, did you have the occasion to look into the history of Alex Cox a little bit?
Briefly.
Okay, were you aware of an incident that occurred in, let me get the date right, August 5th of 2007?
You'd have to be more specific about what occurred on that date, sir.
On that date, there was an allegation that there was an assault on a Joseph Ryan.
That's correct.
You're familiar with that, is that right?
Yes.
And in 2007, is there any indication that Chad Daybell knew Lori Vallow in 2007?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And in that incident, are you aware that Alex Cox committed aggravated assault on Joseph Ryan?
Your Honor, at this point, I'm going to object to relevance.
I think we're outside the scope of what's happening in this case, Mr. Pryor.
Judge, can I approach, please, counsel?
Sure, outside watching.
If Nala barks, you guys, I'm sorry. You know, she's got the little dog syndrome, so she's got to be acting like, you know, don't come in this place. All right, of course, we got a sidebar again. I wonder what he's trying to do here. Because there is no longer a protection order. Just saying. Where do they walk to? That's what I'd like to know. Do they go in the judge's chambers? I see the marshal is back. What are we going to do when these trials are over? Lower desk, other side of the clerk. Let me look. Other side. And there's Larry. Why does the picture look like that? Hold on. Thought I fixed that. Let me look.
Judge, all right, but I just wanted to reiterate, we had an objection that was sustained on relevance grounds, and the court confirms that objection, including under 403, it's not relevant for purposes of this case.
Judge, based on that ruling, the state would move to strike the question.
All right, the question stricken on that topic won't be allowed.
I would like to talk to you a little bit about Chad Daybell's phone, and I'd like you to refresh my recollection. Okay? Yeah. You made mention that on the 26th, when you were doing the initial welfare check, you followed up with calls to Mr. Daybell. Is that right?
That's right.
And your testimony was that you weren't able to get an answer, or the phone was turned off?
Every time we called, it went straight to voicemail, I believe.
Oh, all right. Did you have an opportunity to go through Mr. Daybell's phone records?
I personally have not, no.
So there's no indication that the phone was ever turned off, was there?
I can't testify to that. I didn't go through these records.
But you can testify that it just went to voicemail.
Correct. I can testify he didn't answer.
Okay. Now, when you searched Lori Vallow's residence, there weren't any clothes in there. In the residence that she had hanging up on hangers, right?
That's correct.
Do you have any information to suggest that she had mailed or shipped her clothes to another location?
No, I don't.
Okay. And then you, at the time, you were aware that Mr. Daybell obviously was married to Ms. Vallow at that point. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is it your allegation that Mr. Daybell left on the 26th or 27th and also tried to avoid contact with law enforcement?
I can't answer why Mr. Daybell left. All I can answer to is I wasn't able to get a hold of him after that date.
Okay, and after that date, did you happen to check credit cards or phone records or anything like that to try to locate him?
Again, sir, I didn't go through Mr. Daybell's phone records.
Okay. Did you gain any information that Mr. Daybell was going on a vacation around the 26th or 27th of the end of the month?
We later learned that Mr. Daybell was in California.
Okay. And later learned that he was in California, and that was about the time of the 28th or 29th of November. Is that right?
I'd have to refer to my notes.
Okay. And were you aware?
Sounds right.
Okay. And again, maybe the coffee's still affecting me. I'll try to slow down, okay? But you're also aware that Mr. Daybell on the 28th being at Knott's Berry Farms, right?
Correct.
And that was a family vacation with his kids, correct?
I can't testify to who was there.
Okay, so Mr. Daybell wasn't fleeing. He was on the 26th or 27th month when Lori Vallow's closet was empty. Mr. Daybell was on a family vacation.
I can't testify that he wasn't fleeing. I can testify that I knew he was in California at a later date.
Okay. And you know that later date was the end of November, right?
Close to that date, sir, yes.
Okay. And you know that subsequent to that, then he went on a trip to Hawaii after that, right?
Yes, he was in Hawaii after that.
Right. So if I understand the testimony, Mr. Daybell was at some point after the 26th, went on a planned family vacation at Knott's Berry Farms, right?
I can't testify it was a planned family vacation.
Okay, all right, that's okay. And then subsequent to that, he then went to Hawaii on a trip to Hawaii where there was some contact with you folks, correct?
Yeah, we made contact with Mr. Daybell in Hawaii.
Okay. And how is it that you found it out that he was in Hawaii again? Remind me.
Through tips that came in through our hotlines that we had set up and cell phone data.
And this is just a question, I'm kind of curious. Did maybe you just look at plane records?
Are you asking?
Yeah,
if I-
I'm asking, did you guys look at?
I can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry, sir.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Did at any time, did you just take the initiative to look at plane records?
So each officer was tasked with different things.
Okay.
We did have an officer that looked through financial, and I assume he did look through plane records and credit cards.
Okay. And Mr. Daybell was flying on a commercial plane or traveling from Boise to Knott's Berry Farm on a commercial plane. In your experience and knowledge of these things, there would have been a record of that, right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. Now, I'm going to switch gears again a little bit, okay? Please forgive me because I just want to make sure I hit all of these subjects. And before we go there, I want to make sure you did get a subpoena from my office, is that correct? That's correct. And you've acknowledged that you've accepted that, correct? Right. And you were kind enough to contact my office and agree that if I need you to come back, you'll come back at a time that's suitable for both of us. Is that fair?
Yes.
Was there anything else discussed during that phone conversation?
Dates that I couldn't make it back.
Okay, and that was because, and we're not going to get into this to let everybody know because it's nobody else's business, but you have an obligation of some sort and I've acknowledged that and we're going to work on that. Is that fair?
Objection elements?
Sustained. Okay. Now, as part of your investigation, and I want to be specific to J.J. Vallow, okay? The last known sign of life was the 22nd. Is that fair?
The
last time that someone known.
was September 22nd of 2019.
Right, okay. And the last, at least proof of life for Tylee Ryan was September 8th.
Of 2019.
2019. So I'll do the math in my head if I can. There's 15 days difference between Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow. Is that correct? For the last proof of living or life, respectively.
Roughly.
15 days. You think J.J. Died on around the 9th of September, 8th or 9th of September, and Tylee was the 22nd or 23rd. Is that fair?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Now, as part of the investigation, you looked into where J.J. Vallow was on the 22nd of September, correct?
Correct.
And on the evening of the 22nd of September, he was at Lori Vallow's home.
That's correct.
Okay. And present at that home, staying in that home were Lori Vallow, correct?
Correct.
at least on the 22nd, JJ Vallow was there, correct?
That's correct.
Melanie Gibb was there, correct?
Correct.
And David Warwick was there.
Correct.
Okay. And on that evening, they were conducting some sort of a religious podcast, the three of them, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the allegation is that JJ was acting up and went into the pair of Alex Cox.
Correct.
And then Alex took JJ into a separate apartment, correct?
On which day?
On the 22nd?
He took him to apartment 107. Correct.
Right. His apartment or whoever was on the lease for that apartment, right?
That's right.
Okay. And then the last time that anybody saw JJ was later that evening, is that fair?
Yes.
And that was when Alex Cox was carrying JJ Vallow into the apartment of Lori, David, and Melanie Gibb, right?
Correct.
Who were all staying there together, correct?
That's correct.
And then somewhere at that point, whether it was at that point or subsequent to that evening, or that evening, that's when you believe that JJ Vallow was murdered.
That's correct.
Okay. But the next morning, there were three people in the apartment at that time early in the morning, correct?
Objection Foundation.
Well, do you know who was in the apartment early that morning on the 23rd?
Hold on, Mr. Pryor. There's an objection. I think we'll sustain.
Do you have any knowledge of who was in the apartment on the 23rd of September, the morning of that morning of 2019?
Yes.
And who was there?
David Warwick, Melanie Gibb, and Lori Vallow.
Okay, and at that point, you believe that JJ Vallow was already dead?
I can't testify to the time, but I believe he was killed.
Okay, but then within 2 hours later from that morning, you believe that he was buried on Chad Daybell's property, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, okay. You had an occasion to talk with Melanie Gibb and David Warwick, is that right?
That's right.
Now, you did it a couple of times, if I recall, one by phone, right? With Melanie Gibb?
Correct.
And that wasn't recorded, was it?
It was recorded
It was recorded?
with her attorney.
No. No, I'm talking about a regular phone call with Melanie Gibb, without an attorney.
I don't remember a phone call.
Okay, all right, we're gonna revisit that maybe at another date, but that's fine. But you also went down to Provo, Utah. And I'm going off of memory, but it was Provo, Utah on the 4th of June of 2020, is that right?
Sure.
Now, at that point, you were interviewing both David Warwick and Melanie Gibb about information they had about these allegations, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And who else was there?
Myself, Lieutenant Ball, and Prosecutor Wood.
Okay, so the prosecuting attorney, Mr. Wood, right there. And a lieutenant that you work with and yourself drove down to Provo, Utah.
Correct.
And was there anybody from any local law enforcement there as well?
No.
Okay, now there was an effort to record that conversation, is that right?
Yes, it was recorded.
Okay, was the entire thing recorded?
I believe the very beginning wasn't. The recorder malfunctioned or something happened that was recorded, but the majority of that interview was recorded.
The majority of it was.
That's correct.
So if I represent to you that there was 22 minutes of recording on that interview, does that sound about the length of what the interview was with Melanie Gibb?
No.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay. Would it be helpful if you were able to listen to that recording and view that recording to refresh your recollection?
Refresh my recollection.
About the length of time that recording was?
It should have been longer than 22 minutes. We were there longer than 22 minutes.
How long were you there?
Roughly say about an hour maybe.
Okay. Now, your testimony is that it should have been longer than 21 or 22 minutes, is that right?
That's correct.
Would it surprise you to learn that, well, you don't know exactly how long that interview took place, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the exact time.
And you don't know the length of the recording itself, is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay, and in order to determine that, it would be helpful for you to refresh your recollection by listening to the interview, and it would be able to answer those questions for you. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Your Honor, I'm going to object beyond the scope.
We're way beyond the scope of your red counsel. If also the officer's going to review that, and I permitted, of course, it's not going to be in the presence of the jury. So also saying the objection on beyond the scope.
Judge, are you talking about beyond the scope of direct examination?
Yes.
Okay, then officer, we'll revisit that at another time, okay? And we'll leave that for another opportunity. When I call you back. Now, on the day that J.J. Vallow was found on June 9th, okay? The pictures and the testimony you showed suggested that he was wearing red pajamas and some Skechers socks. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have a recollection of what J.J. Vallow was wearing based on your investigation when he was carried by Alex Cox from Alex Cox's apartment to the upstairs of Lori Vallow's apartment?
Objection, this calls for hearsay.
It doesn't necessarily call for hearsay. He's wondering what he observed him wearing, if you know, so
Yes.
that's how we'll go on that.
Tell me if you know the answer.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. Do you know whether or not J.J. Vallow was wearing red pajamas when he was carried upstairs by Alex Cox?
Sir, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. And Judge, I think at this point, I'm going to save the rest of my questioning for when I call the officer back in my case in chief.
He is something.
I'll conclude the cross-examination then. This time we'll begin with redirect from the state. Mr. Wood.
The detective is doing a fabulous job staying mindful. He knows what he needs to do, and he's not letting Pryor get under his neck. You know what I mean? I say words wrong. I hope you guys get it.
Your Honor, may I be handed State's Exhibit 31?
Yes.
And State's Exhibit 30. Detective, you testified earlier about when you first met Alec or Chad Daybell.
Correct.
Who was he with?
Alex Cox.
Did he look afraid of Alex Cox?
No.
Alex Cox was Chad Daybell's brother-in-law, correct? When you met him?
That's correct.
Detective, you were asked about your beliefs. Is that fair? In cross-examination, you were asked about your beliefs?
Yes.
let's talk about your investigation. When you started your investigation, what was the scope of your investigation?
Initially, it was to find the Jeep from Gilbert, Arizona.
And then it expanded, correct?
Correct.
And then what was the scope of your investigation?
To find the whereabouts of JJ and Tylee.
And all this time you're collecting information from various sources.
That's correct.
Your Honor, may I publish State's Exhibit 31?
Yes.
Detective, you were asked about your beliefs, correct?
That's correct.
And you were asked about your beliefs regarding, I'm gonna call it the paintball incident, is that fair?
Yes.
And when I'm talking about that, to your understanding, what am I referring to?
The attempted shooting of Timmy Daybell.
And you testified you don't believe it was a paintball gun.
That's correct.
So why not?
Through our investigation, we learned that Alex Cox was in the area and on the property of Chad Daybell the morning that Tammy Daybell was shot at October 9th. Through Google searches from Homer J. Maximus, which was Alex's Google account, the night that Tammy Daybell was shot, it was a colder evening. And the Google searches were how to make an AR-15 function in cold weather. And without referring to my notes, can I refer to my notes?
Would it refresh your memory to review your notes?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may the witness look at his report.
No objection.
Yes, you can look at it, not to testify from, to refresh your recollections, so once you looked at that, it's now.
On October 8th, the night before we believe Tammy was shot at, Alex is Googling drop yardage from 300 yards to 100 yards, which we assumed when you're shooting a rifle, you're adjusting your sights to your target. That was the night before. The morning of the shooting, Alex was on Mr. Daybell's property. We have him driving up and down the road of Mr. Daybell's property and also on the property. Later that evening into the early morning hours of October 10th is when he Googled how to make your AR-15 function in cold weather. So that's why we believe that it wasn't just a paintball gun. We believe that Alex Cox was that are shooting Tammy Daybell.
Okay. And I'm gonna have you look at this timeline. And as far as you're aware, these dates are accurate, correct?
I'm sorry.
As far as you're aware, these, in pursuant to your investigation, these dates are accurate, correct?
That's correct.
Did the fact that Tammy Daybell died 10 days after that incident have any bearing on whether or not you believed it was a paintball gun?
Yes.
Did the fact that Chad Daybell got married 17 days later have any bearing on your belief whether or not it was a paintball gun?
Yes.
The fact that there were 2 children buried on Chad Daybell's property have any bearing on whether or not you believed it was a paintball gun?
Yes.
Did the fact that Lori Vallo's husband died within months of these other deaths have any bearing on your belief of whether or not it was a paintball gun?
Absolutely.
And finally, did the fact that Brandon Boudreaux was shot at on October 2nd, 2019 have any bearing on your belief of whether or not it was a paintball gun?
Yes.
And it's your belief that Alex Cox was tied to these events, correct?
That's correct.
And because you were asked about your beliefs, was it your belief that Chad Daybell was tied to these events?
Yes.
Why?
Based on our investigation, the lies that we've been told, the fact that we tried to get a hold of the kids' mother, Lori Vallow, kid's stepfather, Chad Daybell, their uncle, Alex Cox. We weren't able to get a hold of anybody. We were left in the dark. Based on all those events, that's what our beliefs were as collectively.
Pursuant to your investigation, do you know when Alex Cox died?
December 12th, 2019.
At any time after Alex Cox died, did Mr. Daybell call the Rexburg police to report that there might be dead children located on his property?
No, he didn't.
Did he call the Rexburg police with any concerns that perhaps his wife had been harmed by someone?
No, he didn't.
Did he call the Rexburg police before Alex Cox died to say he might be in danger?
Judge, we're going beyond the scope, but walking through our desk, there'll be an opportunity to revisit those issues.
I'm going to sustain that objection.
Okay. Again, so the first time you met Chad Daybell, what was the first thing you asked him? When you had an opportunity to speak with him?
Has to answer.
This is a response to the cross, your overruled.
I asked him when the last time he saw JJ Vallow was.
And when did he answer?
In October in apartment 107 with Lori Vallow.
And did you ask for Lori Vallow's phone number?
I did.
And what was his first response?
Judge, this has been asked to answer.
It's in response to the cross.
Overruled.
His response was he didn't know her cell phone.
Detective, you were asked a little bit about how you do an investigation. Correct?
Correct.
And we spoke about the scope of your investigation in this case.
Correct.
Is it your testimony that you followed where the evidence took you in this case?
That's correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Wood.
Judge, there were some issues that were opened up. My question about the opportunity to revisit this.
There were a few, so while a limited recross, particularly considering your statement, you're going to recall the witness, so it'll be limited, but if you'd like to, Mr. Pryor, you may.
Detective, there was some testimony about, I'll wait for you to need it. Thank you. There was some testimony that you had the whereabouts of Alex Cox on the property of Chad Daybell, and that would have been on the 9th.
That's correct.
Of October.
Yes,
Do you have a recollection of how long he was there on that property?
I don't.
Okay, and you're basing that knowledge on his phone records and his pings, right?
Correct.
Did you have an occasion to look at all of Alex Cox's whereabouts on that day? By way of his phone records, or did you just look at that specific time?
We were more interested in that specific time.
Okay, and I gather from your testimony that you didn't look at between 8 and 10 o'clock on the 9th when the paintball incident took place. You didn't look at that time for Alex Cox's whereabouts, did you?
If I remember right, I didn't get his location near the property at that time. There was no location.
Okay. And isn't it true, officer, that you didn't get his location at that time because Alex Cox's phone was pinging in Idaho Falls at that time, several miles away?
I can't testify to that.
Okay. But you know he wasn't on the property by way of his phone ping and all of the metadata. That's the word you used, right? Metadata?
Right.
By the metadata, Alex Cox wasn't on the Daybell property when Tammy Daybell was shot at with a paintball gun, correct?
No, sir, I can't answer that. I can answer that Alex Cox's cell phone or his device was not on the property.
Okay, and you can also say that his device was on Chad Daybell's property sometime in the morning of the 9th of October, right?
And driving down the roadway in front of the property.
Right. And we don't know who else was on the property on the 9th of October, do we?
I can't testify to who was on the property.
Right. So we don't know if he was there by himself or is he there with other folks, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And when we're talking about you've been on the Daybell property, right? A couple of times.
Yes.
And you took a photo of the car, and we're going to revisit that next time we get together. But it's not 100 yards from the end of the Daybell driveway to the road, is it?
No, sir.
Do you have an idea of how long that driveway is? Could you give me an idea if you know?
I couldn't testify to that.
Is it 50 yards?
No, I would say maybe 30, maybe
30 yards?
20, 30 yards. Yeah.
So 60 to 90 feet.
That's my rough guess, yes.
Okay, so if we're looking at a rifle at 300 yards and dropping it down to 100 yards, we don't need 100 yards to get from one end of the Daybell driveway to the other, do we?
What our investigation or our belief was, if you're asking me what my belief is,
No, I'm asking you the distance down the end of the Daybell driveway to the top of the Daybell driveway. That's not 100 yards, right?
well, that's correct.
That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Mr. Wood is the state reader call next witness.
Your Honor, can we approach?
Yeah.
Your Honor, may this witness leave the stand?
Oh, I didn't know if we are. You want to have the sidebar first?
No, we're done.
Okay. Well, Lieutenant Hermosillo, you may go ahead and return down. And because you are still under subpoena, maybe recall, I will admonish you to abide by the court's exclusionary rule. You're not permitted to review or view testimony trial between now and the time you return testimony. If you fail to follow that and follow the trial or observe any testimony, you will not be permitted to testify again. All right. Okay, thank you.
Oh, what could it be now, people? What could it be now? What's everybody doing? Me, I'm just watching this and looking for things for us to watch. Beginning, I think Pryor never read the info on the house. Yeah, that's interesting. Hey, Amanda, our marshal's back. There he is, our marshal. He's putting in that work in that courtroom. What do you think? Oh boy, I don't know. Look at this cop. Why is he standing there like that? That's weird. Is that a cop too? Oh, well, who's that? Huh. It's hard to tell because the footage is grainy. Oh, yes, definitely. It looks like everybody's standing up. Well, not everybody. Let me look. Who is that? There's hardly anybody in there. You best believe, though, when they do closing statements, it will be. Amanda, what'd you have for supper? I'm going to start cooking here in a minute. I'm going to have spaghetti, Caesar salad, and French bread with cheese. Kids had yummy. I pretty much only eat once a day. Yeah. Okay, this is enough of this. Chicken mushroom. What is that? I run on caffeine. Oh, you got a little baby, don't you? Or a toddler, and older kids. But I mean, you just had a baby or something. Maybe a 2-year-old. I'm guessing. I'm not 100%.
All right, council, if you'll give me a moment, I want to
I'm so sorry. I was
clarify
talking.
our record on exhibits admitted through that last witness and make sure the court has a clear record of what came in as it relates to exhibit 34. So we did have a stipulation that on the record here, and for the jurors to know as well, we had, I believe 34 had separate attachments or would be separate exhibits, 34A, B, C, D, and E. Is that what 34 consists of?
Yes, Judge, and the state is stipulated to be admission to all of 34, which included those separate exhibits. They've already been stipulated.
Okay, and understanding they were stipulated to, still on the record, I'm going to make clear that exhibits 34A, 34B, 34C, 34D, and 34E have all been admitted into the record and are evidence in the case. Does the state concur with that?
That sounds accurate, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm so sorry I'm wrong. See, it wasn't. What was I looking
So
at?
when we conclude, I'll have you stick around for a minute to also see if we need further clarify exhibits on the record. At this time, ladies and gentlemen of the jury and those in attendance, I've discussed scheduling here with counsel.
Oh no.
We got this trial started and moving along with jury selection a little quicker than anticipated, and the state is at its stage of putting on its case in chief. They're doing their best to line up witnesses to appear here, coming a little sooner than anticipated. And that's the explanation. We are going to go ahead and conclude for today
What?
in order to allow the state to have a full day's worth of evidence and testimony beginning on Monday. And then next week, we should be on a full slate of Monday through Friday trial. Notice also, as I mentioned previously, that tomorrow is not going to be a day of trial. So as I understand it, the state would request that we then conclude trial for the week and commence again on Monday morning. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The state, or I'm sorry, does the defense have an objection to that?
Yes,
No objection.
that's Monday.
Okay. So before you leave then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is a pretty long break in between
Gee.
evidence now that you are sworn jurors in the case. And I will again admonish you to please do everything you can to not do anything to learn about the case, investigate the case, look the case up, follow any media in the case. If you do see anything being reported, try to avoid that. Don't talk about the case to anyone else or any of the evidence or facts with anyone, including with each other. You can only do that when you start your deliberations. And when you return on Monday morning, when we'll commence at 8:30 with more evidence, I will be asking the jurors as they return to complete those admonitions and certify under penalty of perjury that you have followed that instruction. So I appreciate you doing that so far. I have confidence you will continue to do that. And thank you for your time and efforts today. That will conclude our trial for today, and we will resume again on Monday with further evidence.
All rise, please.
Okay. They have had 5 years to get to this point. They already did Lori. They're pretty much, using the same evidence. What is the problem? I know I should simmer down, but this makes no sense. And every week, they're not going to be in trial on Thursdays, I think he said. No, they're not coming back till Monday. What are we going to do, people? What are we going to do?
Thank you. Please be seated. The matter on the Exhibit 34 is the court is referencing the defense trial exhibits, and 34 is listed. It says 34A through E, Alex Cox Google searches in October 2019. There's also a 34F and a 34G through J and a 34K through Y. So I just wanted to make clear what came in the record today that will be admitted. We have 34A through E.
That's correct, Judge. The other ones are yet to come.
Okay.
So, and I'm sorry it was confusing. I tried to do this as plainly as possible and have it all on a thumb drive so that the court can make it easier for the jury. But at this point, it's only 8 through E. The others have been admitted, Judge. I just haven't referenced them yet.
Okay, and just to be clear, even though admitted or and agreed to be admitted by stipulation, for this record to be accurate and for future reference to the record, each time a new exhibit is referenced, it needs to be just called out on the record so the clerk keeps an accurate list of what exhibits have come in and that those track with the actual exhibits. So I think the system works. We just need to make sure that individually, for example, with that, if there's multiple exhibits within a number, then we outline exactly what came in. That way we make sure the jury doesn't see any evidence they weren't supposed to see and they see all the evidence they are supposed to see. So we'll continue to work on that process as we start next week. Before we conclude today, then, is there anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone in attendance today, also for following the court's conduct orders. I appreciate it very much. And we'll be recessed for the day.
All rise, please.
Wow. Now what? Where to Papa go? His seat is empty. Did not to. Okay. I'm gonna go make me some supper, and I will find something else and come back. Just like I did yesterday. All right? Thank you, Amanda, for being here. Thank you for everybody that watches replay or whatever. All right? All right.
They call me a god. 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 Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Gotta
Lori, do you love Chad?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I love you, babe.